Whatever this was, it wasn't just memory. It wasn't just trauma. Something had followed him. Through war, through peace, through years of silence. And it had waited patiently for its moment. Harry paced the hallway outside his bedroom. The house was still quiet, still too empty. The portraits on the walls watched him, or maybe he only imagined it. There was one of Lily, his mother, not his daughter. She smiled eternally in the frame, surrounded by the soft glow of morning sun in some meadow Harry had never visited. "I'm trying," he whispered to her. "I thought it was over." The portrait blinked, nothing more. He kept walking. The truth is, he thought, I don't know who I am without him. He hated the thought, but it had surfaced more than once in the quiet moments of recent years. Without Voldemort, what was left for Harry Potter to fight? Bureaucracy? Corruption? Petty theft? He didn't miss the war, not really, but he missed the clarity. Everything had been so simple then. Life or death, right or wrong. Now, it all felt like mud. He returned to the sitting room and stared into the fireplace, unlit. His reflection shimmered on the glass of the family photo above the mantel. Ginny, the kids, himself. He couldn't tell if it looked like him anymore. A knock broke the silence. He turned, startled. Not at the front door. It was coming from somewhere inside the house. 3 knocks from the basement. Harry felt his blood run cold. He hadn't been in the basement in over a year. It was a storage space, nothing magical, nothing warded. And yet the knocks came again. He drew his wand. His heart thumped in his chest like a war drum as he descended the stairs. They creaked beneath his weight, the sound loud in the stillness. At the bottom, he waited. Nothing. The air was damp, musty. He waved his wand, casting Lumos. The light pushed back the shadows, boxes, furniture, cobwebs, and then a shape, a figure standing in the far corner. Harry's breath caught. He raised his wand. "Who's there?" No answer. He stepped forward slowly. The light from his wand flickered, trembling slightly with the shake in his hand. As he neared, he saw it clearly. A mirror. One he didn't remember bringing down here. It was tall, ornate, with serpents carved into the frame, and in its surface, he saw himself, but not the man he was now. The Harry in the mirror stood straighter. His eyes glowed faintly red, a wand of twisted yew in one hand, a cloak that shifted like smoke draped from his shoulders. Harry took a step back. The figure didn't mimic him. It smiled. "You're not real," Harry whispered. "You're just a vision." The mirror, Harry tilted his head, then slowly, deliberately, raised one hand and pressed it to the glass from within. Harry stumbled back. His foot caught on a crate. He fell hard to the floor, knocking the wind from his lungs. When he looked up again, the mirror was empty. Just a dusty, cracked pane of glass. Harry scrambled to his feet, backed up the stairs 2 at a time, and slammed the basement door shut behind him. He pressed his back to the door, breathing hard, the wand still lit in his grip. His hand was trembling. His scar didn't hurt, but the silence inside his head felt wrong, like something waiting to speak again. "It's starting," he thought. "Whatever this is, it's waking up." And this time, the shadows it once hid behind are no longer distant. Now they come from within, silent, patient, and impossibly familiar. Harry returned to the kitchen and tried to make tea. His hands shook as he poured the water. The steam fogged up his glasses, and for a moment he saw a red glint reflected in the kettle's curve. He blinked it away. "Put the glasses down. Get it together," he muttered. But the words didn't help. He couldn't tell Ginny, not yet, not when she'd just started smiling again, not when things had been so normal, when Lily was finally sleeping through the night and James had stopped sneaking out with that damn broom. He needed time to think, to make sense of what he'd seen. He stepped into the sitting room, dropped onto the couch, and let the tea cool untouched in his hand. The fire crackled in the hearth. Outside, rain tapped against the window panes in a steady rhythm, like a ticking clock he couldn't shut off. He stared into the fire, half lost in the movement of the flames, when the air shifted. Not a breeze, not a draft, something intentional. Then came the sound, a dull, heavy thump. Harry jolted upright. His wand was in his hand before he even knew he'd drawn it. On the coffee table, resting like it had always belonged there, was the journal, Tom Riddle's diary. Harry froze. He hadn't brought it with him. He had locked it, sealed it, buried it in the deepest part of the attic's hidden study under a web of protective charms. And yet, it sat there, calm, patient. The cover glistened faintly in the firelight. A few pages fluttered as if the book had just exhaled. "No," Harry whispered. "You're not supposed to be here." He approached slowly, wand still raised. The book didn't move, but it felt alive. It was as if the room itself leaned toward it, breath held. The fire crackled softer, like even it dared not interrupt. He reached out, stopped. His fingers hovered over the cover. Then he made a mistake. He touched it. Warm, not from the fire, from within. Harry's heart pounded as he opened the cover. The first few pages were blank. Then, words began to appear. They didn't flow from a quill or a hand. They bled into the page as if pulled from the book's very skin. "Hello, Harry." His throat tightened. He didn't speak, didn't move. But the writing continued. "It's been a long time." "No," he muttered. "You're destroyed. You're gone." The book disagreed. "Gone," it wrote. "You buried me, but I was never truly gone." Harry took a step back. The diary stayed open, its ink curling like smoke across the parchment. "I remember you. I remember how you looked at me. I remember how you fought me. I remember how you feared me. I'm not afraid of you," Harry said, but his voice wavered. The ink paused for a beat, as though laughing. "Then, you should be. Because I'm not what I was. I'm not just pages and memory. I'm deeper now, stronger, rooted. And you, Harry, you were always my anchor." His fingers tightened around his wand. "What do you want?" The next words unfurled slowly, with deliberate cruelty. "You, whole, at last." The ink didn't fade. It sank back into the page like it had never been there. The book went blank. Harry slammed it shut and shoved it to the far edge of the table. He stood there, breathing like he'd just fought something off. Something not quite real, but far from imaginary. He turned his back to it, but he could still feel it. The book didn't need to be open to speak. It didn't even need to be near. Whatever was inside it wasn't just calling to him. It was him, or at least a part of him he thought he'd left behind. His scar didn't burn, but the silence in his head was too loud. He didn't know what was worse, that Voldemort's presence might still exist, or that part of him didn't want it to leave. He turned back around and gripped the edge of the table to steady himself. He stood over it, chest heaving. The fire had burned down to embers behind him, casting long, twitching shadows across the room. The words burned in his memory. "You, whole, at last." It had spoken. Not like a memory, not like a cursed object echoing the past. This was now. This was real. He backed away from the coffee table, the diary sitting innocently atop it, like it hadn't just reached into his mind and dragged something dark to the surface. The house was too quiet. The walls seemed to listen. A knock at the back of his thoughts, a pressure behind his eyes, made him wince, like something whispering, testing the cracks. Then, a sudden sound at the front door, the clink of keys, the latch turning, voices, footsteps. He froze, not because he was afraid of them seeing the diary, but because he wasn't ready to be normal again. Not yet. Not after what just happened. He shoved the diary into the drawer beside the fireplace, slammed it shut, and drew his wand. In one swift movement, he whispered 3 layering charms: Obscuro, Muffliato, Cave Inimicum. A shimmer passed over the drawer's edge as the concealment magic took hold. He whispered one more, a disillusionment charm so dense he could barely see the wood anymore. Footsteps approached. Harry, Ginny's voice, light, cheerful. "We're home." He inhaled through his nose, steadied his voice. "In here," he called, just loud enough. The sitting room door opened, and Lily darted in ahead of her mum, giggling, arms outstretched like wings. "Daddy!" Harry dropped to one knee just in time to catch her, lifting her into the air and spinning her once. His motion fluid, automatic, as though muscle memory could hide how shattered he felt. "I missed you," she beamed, planting a sticky kiss on his cheek. "Missed you too, Bug," Harry murmured, his voice thick with something he hoped she didn't hear. Ginny followed, holding a bag of bakery goods in one hand and a still watching gaze in the other. Her eyes immediately found his face. "You all right?" she asked. He nodded. "Just tired." She leaned forward and kissed him softly, a subtle pause in her movement, like she was weighing whether to believe him. "I took Lily to Flora's. Apparently they turned the kitchen into an art studio," Ginny said, lifting Lily's jam-stained hand. "We'll be scrubbing that off the walls for weeks." "I made a dragon," Lily added proudly. "Of course you did." Harry smiled, setting her down gently. Ginny handed him a croissant from the bag. "Al's still at the Burrow. James says he's at a match with Fred and swears he's not doing anything illegal." "That's a relief," Harry muttered. They made their way into the kitchen, the warmth of home life closing in around him like a blanket. Familiar smells, familiar sounds. And yet, something inside him didn't feel familiar at all. While Ginny unpacked dinner and Lily hummed to herself at the table, Harry's eyes drifted toward the living room. The drawer didn't move, but he could feel it. Still there, still waiting, still part of him.